In terms of the Arab merchants moving into the community, there's a strong insensitivity on the part of these merchants, inasmuch as they know little or nothing about the community, and they don't seem to be really concerned about the community and the situations that address the community.
If there is a store, he's a man trying to make a living. What difference does it make if he's an Arab or he's black?
Good evening, I'm John Calloway, and welcome to Chicago Tonight. One of the awful truths of our lives is that poor people in big cities often pay relatively higher prices for food, housing, and services than better off people who could easily afford to pay those higher prices. It isn't enough to be poor. You get to get gouged on top of it. But those who demand the higher prices of the poor will tell you that they are not gouging them. They say they are passing along to them the higher costs of doing business in high crime, high insurance rate areas of the city. So it seems to be a no-win situation. And sometimes it spills over into inter-ethnic conflict, such as the historic tension between Jewish store owners and landlords who continued doing business in black ghetto areas long after most other whites had moved out in the early or mid-1960s. This month, a race relations periodical called the Chicago Reporter published a lead article entitled, "Captive Grocery Market Pits Blacks Against Arabs." We felt that the article raised questions that deserve further public discussion and debate, and we will have that discussion and debate right after this background report from Chicago Tonight correspondent Royal Kennedy.
It's the Rock in the building. Khalid, Ramel, Terrell in the house. Yes. Live from United States, Brooklyn, New York, it's your boy, Young. The nephews is in the house. As soon as the beat drop, we got the streets locked overseas. A Punjabi MC in the rock. I came to see the mommies in the spot. On the count of 3, drop your body like it's hot. 1, Young, 2, you. 1, 2, 3, Young Hoser. Snake charmer, move your body like a snake, mama. Make me wanna put the snake on ya. I'm on my 8th summer, still hot. Young's the 8th wonder. All I do is get bread, yeah, I take wonder. I take one of your chicks straight from under your armpit. The black Brad Pitt, I'm at till 6 in the AM. All day I'm P-I-M-P. I am simply attached to the track like simply. It's simply good. Young Ho, infinitely hood. OC and you don't stop. Kucha BMC and you don't stop. Nigga NYC and we don't stop. It's the rock. It's the rock. ROC and we don't stop. Kucha BMC and we don't stop. It's your boy Jay-Z and we don't stop. Nigga ROC and we won't stop. Yes, Ma, I ain't gotta tell you, but it's your boy Ho from the US. You just lay down slow. Catch your boy mingling, England, meddling in the Netherlands, checking in daily under aliases. We rebellious, we back home, screaming leave Iraq alone. But all my soldiers in the field, I will wish you safe return. But only love kills war. When will they learn? It's international hope. Been having the flow before Bin Laden got Manhattan to blow. Before Ronald Reagan got Manhattan to blow. Before I was cabinet there back and forth. Bro, we had it all day. Poppy in the hallway. Cop one on consignment to give you more, yay. Yeah, but that's another story. But for now, I'ma turn it around and let the boy play. Jay,
For anyone used to the spacious supermarket chain stores, this is an inconceivable way to shop. Customers in this tiny grocery and liquor store place their orders to a clerk behind a wall of bulletproof plexiglass. Everything from milk and eggs to liquor and candy is behind glass and beyond the reach of customers until they have paid for it. Often customers say the food is spoiled, the stores are dirty, and the prices are higher than elsewhere in the city. The customers in most of these stores are low-income blacks. The store's owners often are Arab Americans. On the west side, the hostility between the two groups has increased.
There's a strong insensitivity on the part of these merchants, inasmuch as they know little or nothing about the community, and they don't seem to be really concerned about the community and the situations that address the community. And we have a serious problem with that.
24th Ward Democratic Committeeman Jesse Miller has called for a 2-week boycott of the neighborhood's Arab-owned stores. Miller says the merchants make money from the community by providing inferior service and taking advantage of the neighborhood's problems.
Anytime you have an area that's depressed like this, certainly you don't need a lot of businesses coming into the area and then selling liquor being one of their main items of sale.
Despite Miller's call for a boycott, we found no evidence of it in his neighborhood. The Arab-owned stores here appear to be doing normal business, but not because the residents here like them.
Well, in the first place, all the grocery stores are filthy. And the attitude is unpleasant.
They don't treat the people with respect that they should be treated with.
I ain't got no other choice. Where am I going?
The cover story in this month's Chicago Reporter confirms that many West Side residents have little choice in where to shop. It reports that Arab Americans have become the largest purveyors of food in black neighborhoods in the past 10 years, as many of the big supermarket chains have moved out, and that blacks on the West Side pay more for food. In a survey of 50 stores, including supermarket chains and groceries owned by several ethnic groups, West Siders paid $45.05 for the same bag of groceries bought on the North Side for $43.70 and on the South Side for $42.14. Nail Abdullah is one grocery store owner who resents the stereotype of Arab businessmen. Abdullah's store is clean. The merchandise is not behind glass. And he says he constantly asks his customers if they are satisfied with the prices. Abdullah says Miller's boycott has made a racial issue out of problems that should be settled on a store-by-store basis.
This bringing up, naming people's nationalities, that's something I disagree with. I'm an American citizen. I've been here for 22 years, and I just don't like this subject of picking on people, saying all Puerto Ricans are so-and-so, all Arabs and so-and-so. He should take it, this should be taken in individual basis.
The controversy has a political angle as well. Jesse Miller's 24th Ward rival, Alderman William Henry, has come out against the boycott. But while our cameramen were shooting at one store, men who said they were inspectors from Henry's Council Committee on Licensing made a surprise visit to check for violations. Just a coincidence, they said. Can I ask you who asked you to come to the store today?
No one asked me to check it. It's my job.
But many in the neighborhood say the issue goes beyond politics or even complaints about certain stores to the economics of this community. And the question should not be, why are there so many Arab-owned businesses, but why aren't there more black-owned businesses? For Chicago Tonight, I'm Royal Kennedy.
And now joining us are Jesse Miller, who is the Democratic Committeeman of Chicago's 24th Ward. Mufid Halawa, who is president of the North American Arab Business Association, some of whose members are grocers. And Jennifer Robles, who is assistant editor of the monthly race relations publication, the Chicago Reporter, and she is the author of the Reporter's November lead article, Captive Grocery Market Pits Blacks Against Arabs. And Ms. Robles, I wonder if you could, I think many of us are surprised when we read that there are 1,000 or hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Arab or Arab American-owned grocery stores in Chicago. And I think many people will be surprised to hear about the tension between these store owners and blacks. Tell us about, when we talk about Arabs or Arab Americans, where did they come, which nations, what part of the world of the Arab world did they come from?
A lot of the grocers on the west side that I spoke with and talked to at length came from Palestine, Palestinian West Bank. Although they're in Chicago, there are concentrations of Jordanians, of other nationalities within the Arab American countries. But on the west side, they seem to be newer to the United States and primarily from the West Bank.
Any particular reason why they go into the grocery business as opposed to, say, gas stations or some other business?
I had two responses when I asked that question of people. One, they said that the market was there, and also they felt that they had some knowledge from previous occupations and jobs that they had in the countries they came from, that this was not a foreign experience to run and operate a store.
And do these owners tend to have been there for several years, or could you say, well, this one's been there for a year, this one's been there for 22 years, like the man said?
In general, on the west side, some of them have been in the grocery business, for much shorter periods of time than grocers I spoke to on the south side of Chicago.
Although the Chicago Reporter has been tracing this story for, what, since 1981?
Right. We had a story in May of 1981. At that time, we went through the licensing of the city and found over 350 Arab-owned, surnamed grocery stores in 1981. This time around, the estimates we got from the city were between 700 and 1,000.
And the man in our introductory piece who said he's been here for 22 years has only been a grocer, I'm told, for
12 years.
For 12 years in that particular case. Do the Arab or Arab American grocery store owners tend to live in these neighborhoods and participate in the life of these neighborhoods?
They don't actually have their families there. They don't live there.
Where are their families?
A lot of them that I spoke to are in the suburbs in Morton Grove and different parts of outside of the city limits, as well as on the south side of Chicago and the southwest side where the large Arab community is located.
Mr. Halawa, what's your interpretation of that? I mean, are you in a basic agreement with what you're hearing so far?
Well, first of all, I'd like to put this issue in the right perspective, Mr. Calloway. The U.S. Congress on October 26 have passed a very important resolution for the first time. And that resolution says it applauds the hard work and productivity of 3 million Arab Americans who continue to make important contributions to the economic prosperity and the cultural life of our nation since October 1854, when the first recorded Arab immigrant arrived in the United States. Now, if we hear Mr. Miller, some of us, we get to believe that the Arabs have just arrived yesterday to this town. We are not. We are third and fourth generation in this city. We are as much American as you, or Mr. Miller, or anybody else. Are we entitled to do business in this city anywhere we want to? I think everybody in Chicago is entitled to do business anywhere they can. The fact that there has been quite few or increase in the Arab stores in these places came as a result of a vacuum.
A vacuum in the market.
A vacuum, because many of the big business have moved out of the black neighborhoods and left these neighborhoods without service.
Now, Ms. Robles, you would, in your piece in the Chicago Reporter, in your article, you documented that, did you not? Could you support that parenthetically, factually for us for a minute?
Very quickly, there's, of the 54 jewel stores in Chicago, there are 6 located in the largest black neighborhoods and only one Dominic's, as opposed to in the 10 largest white areas, there's more than 14 jewels and I think it is 8 Dominic's. So it's almost 3 to 1. There's almost 3 to 1 opportunities on the north side as opposed to on the south side.
But would you agree with the grocer that we interviewed who said, look, don't frame this in terms of blacks versus Arab Americans. Take it store for store if you wanted to.
Exactly. This is really what we are saying. As a matter of fact, I disagree with the title of the Chicago Reporter. It says that a captive market pits blacks against Arabs. I don't really think that is true. The truth is that this is a politically motivated issue with racial overtones.
You would agree it's a captive market, wouldn't you?
Well, it's a captive market. There is a need that has been supplied by
I don't mean that in an accusatory way.
No,
I mean it in a factual way. So that part of the article that calls it, that part of the headline that calls it a captive market, we could all agree on.
Well, captive in a sense where there is a definite demand that some people came in with capital and their time and their efforts and build businesses out of empty stores, out of closed places.
All right.
And if Mr. Miller objects to Arab Americans having stores, there's a lot of empty stores in his own neighborhood. He can try some of them to open up and start a business there.
All right, Mr.
Nobody's
Miller.
preventing anybody from doing business or opening new stores of doing business.
Mr. Miller, what's your beef?
Well, first of all, John, we've never said that we object to Arab businessmen being in our community. What we've said is that we object to the attitude that Arab businessmen show toward the residents of our community.
And is that a generalization, or would you say that that is to be found in some stores?
No, I'm saying that is a generalization, and that we address this as a general problem, is that because of the lack of communication the establishment of communication between those merchants coming into our area and with the residents to those merchants is that we feel that there's been an escalation of these tensions. The reports that I get at my office indicate clearly that a lot of these merchants do not respect residents who come in their stores.
How do they show that disrespect? What do you mean?
Well, I'll give you, for instance, with myself, I had a situation where I entered a store on hearing that there had been a reference to the people of our community as niggers. And I went to that store to verify that, and I found that the gentleman who made the remark had indeed made that remark. Over 2 years ago, we began to picket that store in our community. So I'm well aware that
now you could find
these are
that
not
kind of talk
falsifications.
in all kinds of stores in all parts of this town and this society.
But
why can you? I mean, but you are saying that all exceptions aside, you do want to generalize that it is an Arab American-owned business problem.
I think that when Arab Americans look at an area like North Lawndale and other black communities throughout this city, and they solely move into those communities for the purpose of taking monies out of those communities and not making any contributions, is that you're going to have a problem.
Are you saying that they don't relate to the community after
Not at
hours?
all.
That they're not in? For example, what about the banking that they do? Do
They do not bank in the banks in the community. They do not support community-based projects that are initiated by the community. There is no evidence that there's anything that the community gets in return.
Let's talk to Mr. Halawa about that.
I don't know whom you've been talking to, Mr. Miller. I have been working for the last 8 to 9 years in the black community, and I tell you, we have a lot of goodwill. We have created the best relationship between Arabs and black in the city, for one simple reason, because we don't look at the Arab community as being foreigners, in a sense, to the black community. There are 90 million Arabs who came from Africa, Mr. Miller. We look at ourselves with the same roots like the African community in this town.
Is that a part of why you're in black neighborhoods? Is that cultural?
We feel yes, we can relate to the black community most of the time.
Are Arab American grocers to be found in any great numbers in white communities?
As a matter of fact, out of the numbers which we have about 40% of our stores are in white community. Only 60% where there has been more need in the black community.
And is it also true that 20% of those stores, those Arab American-owned stores in black communities, are up for sale?
Yes, there's a problem in doing business in the inner city, and Mr. Miller knows that.
I would take issue with
shoplifting.
I would take
there's
issue.
A lot of gangs. There's all kind of problems, but we don't point out as a black and an Arab problem. We say the inner city there are problems which we all have to take care of.
Mr. Miller,
I would take issue.
We need a good environment to do business in.
I would take issue with those statements in as much as you can't show me anywhere on the west side of Chicago where there's been a reinvestment by the Arab merchants that's in our community. There's no evidence of that anywhere on the west side. I don't know what black community you're talking about.
Goes to Japan asking people to bring in their money to open business in the state of Illinois. You have people who come into the community with their money. They put 18 hours a day to make a business out of a closed store with awful real estate conditions in these places.
They're paying higher insurance rates.
One store paid $12,000 a year only for insurance.
Well, let me make my point.
Mr. Miller, the question was raised by Royal Kennedy. Raised the question at the end of her introductory piece. Raised the question of why more blacks aren't involved in these neighborhoods. What's your answer to that question?
Why more blacks aren't
when the big
involved in
chains
business?
started to leave those neighborhoods, why did Arab Americans move in and not blacks?
I think there are a number of reasons for that, in as much as in order to have a successful business, there have to be various types of supportive systems that are there. Bank, lending institutions must be supportive of business efforts. And I think that with blacks is that you had a decline of those kinds of institutions that will serve as supportive groups for black entrepreneurs.
Even for small grocers?
No question about it. I think that it's been very difficult. There's not been enough done legislatively in terms of government, nor in terms of the private sector in being supportive of efforts by blacks to be entrepreneurs. And I think that coupled with the fact that we appear to have a group of people who are taking advantage of a situation or of a kindness of a people, if you will, because I think that blacks have been very supportive, that the escalation that we're faced with now happened as a result of the disrespect shown by these merchants.
Would you acknowledge
blacks did not originally complain about Arab businessmen coming in our community. What happened was that after they got there and they showed their real intentions, that people began to say, well, hey, let's take another look at this.
But would you acknowledge that anybody who would come in and do business, say in a grocery store, is going to probably have higher prices, which will alienate the purchasing community because of the cost, the margin, I'm told, the margin of profit on grocery stores is very, very minimal. Now you put in security, now you put in high insurance, and you've got what will appear to be a price gouging condition. Well, it isn't. It's a cost of doing business.
I also believe there's one answer to this question. If we are in a market situation where, say, there's supply and demand, obviously prices depends on the sources where you buy. In the grocery market area, in this Chicago market, in the last 5 years, there has been a consolidation of sources. Most of the whole state food market has been really taken over by 1 or 2 companies. That has been a higher cost of wholesale for the Arab merchant.
Ms. Robles, let us go back to Ms. Robles.
I think to some degree what you just said is very true, but I also look at Abdullah's store that you showed on your piece and realize that he has a very high quality store. And I look at some of the other stores I've been to, and I can see that, yes, the prices are higher. He does pay a lot in insurance, but he's got a fantastic store. You know, why is it that other people who are of Arab American descent do not have as much willingness to create a good environment for a store as Abdullah does?
Do you sympathize with Mr. Miller's generalization that there is an attitude problem on the part of the owners of some of those stores?
Yes.
Are we talking about a cultural difference here at all?
Places that I can point my finger to beyond a doubt and say that there is a problem, and that has to do with Arab American male responses to black women.
And children?
And children, beyond a doubt.
And what would that be? How would you characterize that?
I think that there, as far as what they themselves have told me, that their culture is not as open about women, that they have not often experienced women in a retail food environment before, and that sometimes you do get a lot of very patronistic attitudes on behalf of the grocers to women.
I don't know where do we draw the line between really racism and non-racism, because if you talk about the Arab culture is one of the most respectful of women and children, love of children.
And even the term Arab culture may be a little difficult to determine.
I mean, like some of these store owners, if you talk about the complaints of some of the people in the neighborhood about attitude, I can give you thousands of complaints about a shoplifting that takes place in these places 30 or 40 times a day in some of these stores.
So that one could generalize about black behavior if you wanted to.
I can tell you about 10 murders where store owners are shot in the community every year. Nobody say these are black who have committed.
Wait a minute. Wait. Well, now let's stop. Let's stop right there. 10 murders every year.
On average, in the store.
In the Arab American owners.
Let me ask
Ms. Robles, did you find that?
I didn't find these statistics to support that, but
we have one of a member of our board of directors of our group. About 7 years ago, he was shot in the store with 2 people.
All right, now I'm not saying that you can't tell stories about people who've been shot, but when you say 10 a year, that's
yes, an average. There's an average, and we can get you the figures. This is not an Arab. It's not an Arab black. This is part of doing.
Let me ask a question.
Mr. Miller.
If that's true, why is there constantly an increase of those merchants coming in our community? I think that if that was true, that would be a deterrent. I'll tell you what, though, I do know that last week a 4-year-old kid was shot in our community by an Arab businessman. I do know that we got case after cases where Arab business people have beaten some of our young people in those stores.
You take one case, I can give you 10 cases in front where there's a problems in these neighborhoods, and this is not has nothing to do with blacks or Arabs. It has to do with problems in the inner city.
Now,
drugs.
All right, Mr. Miller, what do you say? What do you say to those who say that there is a political problem here, and that you are in effect trying to stir up trouble? Make trouble for these Arab American-owned grocery stores because you want to get some funds. You want to be able to. The charge is you want to get them to contribute to you in your conflict with Alderman Henry.
Well, I never asked him for anything, so that's just a lie.
So you don't.
I never asked him for anything, so that's just a lie.
What is it that? Where do you want to move this discussion?
Listen,
where can we've described some of this.
John,
what can we do that's positive?
Okay, I live in a community that has been exploited tremendously by people coming to that community on a transit basis and ripping that community off. I am now a committeeman of that community of which I grew up in. And what I'm saying is that I'm looking for solutions to problems. People have come to my office and told me about what was going on with these merchants in our community.
All right, suggest
I have
something
witnessed that.
constructive.
And now what we're doing is that there has been a committee formed, a consumer service committee formed in our community. Yes,
Or you helped form it.
I helped form that group. And I asked the Arab businessmen to identify leaders that would represent all of those stores in that community.
And you've met with 7 of them?
We've met with some of the leadership. And we've indicated that what we want to do for any store that's not going to participate in this, where we can move to resolve these problems, we're going to boycott them and picket them till they close down and get out of our neighborhood.
But aside from, you've made your boycott statement, and we know about that.
All right.
But aside from that, what are the constructive things that can occur?
What we want to happen with the two groups meeting is that let us address these issues that the people have raised. Let's address
Cleanliness,
the grievances.
price,
no question about it.
attitude,
Cleanliness, quality of food, prices being accurate. So
you want the first thing is to have meetings and to talk.
And we want them to be involved with us. And as they make decisions about what they want to do, we don't want there to be an over-infatuation of these liquor stores in our community. And we don't want them to use items that children like to purchase and have that right next to their liquor sales.
Mr. Halawa, what do you suggest on the constructive resolution of this?
I just like to really say it is a politically motivated. As I was told by some people from his own neighborhood, this has something to do with Mr. Miller as a committeeman who wants the job of Alderman Henry in his own neighborhood. Now he finds an issue where it is easy and target some business people in his community.
To address that.
And he does that.
But the Chicago report, Ms. Robles, did you not go into this aside from the politics, or the alleged politics of this?
Didn't interest us at all. We wanted to look at the attitudes. We wanted to look at the tensions and wanted to understand more why the tensions were so escalating to the point where some of these incidents that have happened have continued to happen and cause problems. And as far as what I can say tonight, this is the first time that these two gentlemen have even sat down and spoken to each other. I know they tried to do this before our story came out, and they neither of them were able to do that. So I mean, this is, in some respects, is the first time you're seeing both of these two gentlemen even talk to each other, which shows you how terrible the problems of communications are between these two groups. And I think that has a lot to do with what's happening.
Can I say something to that?
All right, sorry. Let Mr. Miller start, and then
the story recently.
Let me say something.
Let Mr. Miller speak to this, and then I'll let you respond.
What happened was the series of what happened is that when the problems began to arise based on the residents coming to my office, is that this gentleman contacted me and we made arrangements to meet. I said, fine.
That's not true, Mr.
Well,
I never.
I
have somebody who contacted you.
Okay.
He asked you to talk to you.
There were arrangements made for a meeting.
Never even answered back.
There was arrangements for a meeting. What happened is that they violated the arrangement and didn't show up nor called me to let me know why they did not make the meeting. Mr. Weiss,
you have not.
Mr. Weiss represented you.
Well, you've met this evening for the first time, and as moderator, let me tell you that you have, and I think anybody watching this program, that there is a basic difference of opinion. One is that Mr. Miller has a generalization which he's making. You are saying that there may be problems, but that they should be on a store-by-store basis. Yes, so you'll need to discuss that further. Is there anything else that you think that you can do that's constructive?
We have called on a group of business people from the black community to talk to us joint ventures to open up these closed stores for businesses. You know, we have never yet found a group that will take us up on that.
Well,
how does that sound, Mr. Miller?
That's the first I ever heard of that.
How does it sound?
As a matter of fact, it sounds like a lie.
Why do you say that?
I'm saying that he's asked that to happen. I know in our community, we just met with our Chamber of Commerce where we had some of your merchants at that meeting, and they had been asked to join that Chamber of Commerce, and they had refused to do so. And we indicated to them is that we respect this Chamber of Commerce, and we want to do so. So what you're talking about is not true about where I'm from.
Here, I make the offer to you, now you call it a lie, which is it's a shame.
No, you said that you had made that offer to some businessmen, and it's not in our area.
We're still making this.
Not in our area.
Making this a challenge.
I have to say good night, and our thanks to Jesse Miller and Jennifer Robles and Mufid Halawa for being with us, and our thanks to you for being with us. And I hope you'll be back tomorrow night when we will have analysis and debate on the results of the New York mayoral election and the governorship election for the state of Virginia. I'm John Calloway. Thank you, and good night. you can continue if you wish.
Well, I think that that's a falsification of the truth, what you just said, because
I'm asking you to make me up on that. We have asked many times.
We had Arab businessmen at our Chamber of Commerce meeting,
with the Arab American
and it's just not true.
Business community. We have
Anyway,
said you have a lot of stores that are closed in your community. Let's open up with different kind of businesses.
if the facts that you gave about the violence were true, I would ask you why we all keep coming in the neighborhood
I wonder
if that was true.
believe me, I even asked some of our members, does it really work?